All right, I'm going to bring in my panel in a moment, but Donald Trump, the State of the Union today, it was epic, as I said. Here's a little bit of how it all played out.
The President had said his State of the Union address here at the US Capitol building was going to be long, and he wasn't wrong. At just under 2 hours, it was the longest State of the Union speech on record. It started with a rousing reception. Democrat Al Green held a sign referencing a social media post President Trump's account shared about Barack Obama. The congressman was removed for the second time in 2 years after interrupting last year's speech. The president's approval ratings have been slipping, but Donald Trump focused on what he saw as his administration's achievements.
And our enemies are scared, our military and police are stacked, and America is respected again, perhaps like never before.
Touting the economy.
A short time ago, we were a dead country. Now we are the hottest country anywhere in the world, the hottest.
Delivering that, even as it consistently ranks as the #1 issue concerning Americans. In a midterm year, he made this about a political battle between Republicans and Democrats.
If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens. You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up. They're blocking the removal of these people out of our country, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
So now President Trump has set out his vision for the rest of his second term and laid out a path to the midterms.
All right, joining me now to discuss this and more, our National Affairs Editor at the Daily Telegraph, of course a bit of a US political junkie, James Morrow, and senior reporter Carolyn Marcus. James, I watched most of that speech. I did have my head down at my computer at some stages, but I tell you what, it was mercurial. Trump and had all the theatre we see from the Democrats and the Republican presidents there in terms of referencing the crowd. We don't tend to do that in Australia. We've done it in a few budget speeches in recent years, but I mean, you had some absolute war heroes in that crowd and some lovely stories were told. The Olympians were there, of course. What were your key takeaways?
Well, I mean, there were some amazing stories that were told there, including war veterans. There was a war veteran who was 100 years old who had a medal draped around his neck by Melania Trump, who had shot down 4 Soviet jets in the Korean War in a previously never talked about, never disclosed mission, a real hero. But politically, this speech was a real masterstroke, I think, by Trump, because it was very strategic, and the Democrats made a huge mistake. They took the bait. And as a result, from the clips he played and many more, Americans look at this and they say, no. It is the American government's job to protect us, and we don't, have time for illegal aliens. That's what normal people think. Going into the midterms, all of those images of Democrats carrying on and behaving like this, they took the bait. They didn't offer the president the respect of the office, and they wound up sitting through bits that were moving, that were gracious, that were really important in terms of policy distinctions that should be black and white, and they acted like fools. And this, I think, is really where the midterm election begins.
Yeah, I was reading some analysis. Susie Wiles, his chief of staff, says they're going to really put the president front and centre for the midterms race. I mean, he holds their fortunes in their hand. This is their thinking, certainly. Is that what you expect will happen?
Yeah, I think so, because if they just make it a generic Republican race, then what will happen in the midterms is what normally happens in the midterms, which is that the incumbent party winds up going backwards in the polls. The Republicans can't afford to do that. It has to be a referendum on Trump, his personality, and he needs to be out there getting out the vote and getting out the base. That is the way that they hold on to their slim majority, perhaps even advance it.
All right, let's go to the ISIS women. We don't call them brides on this program. They're no innocents over there in Syria. We now know, after all the speculation and the missed phone calls and the denials, that Dr. Jamal Rifi is in fact in Syria, and he's got in his hand 34 passports for these women and their children. He has now spoken And these are his words about this repatriation effort.
What is your response to the opposition's criticism and the broader Australian view, it seems, of this group?
We're not here to help anyone who is sympathizer of ISIS. From my dealing with those women, I can find that they are caring mothers, and I believe they love Australia, and I believe their stay in the camp made them to realise the beauty of our country.
Don't buy it, Caroline. I'm saying this out front here now. I don't buy it. I sat through too many security briefings. I saw too many pictures of kids holding up severed heads and all the other horrors from that time. Stuff I have seen that will never, ever leave me. I don't buy it. Frankly, they can rot in hell. I'm tougher than the Prime Minister on this one. But are you won over?
Certainly not. I don't buy it for a second either, Peter, and I don't think that makes us especially cynical. We've just seen the worst terror attack on our soil in which 15 people, Jewish people mainly, were slaughtered at a Hanukkah event, and the motivation was allegedly ISIS, the same ideology that these people willingly left their own country for to go and support husbands in fighting for it, for an Islamic caliphate in the Middle East, and to kill infidels. Anyone who's seen those pictures that you mentioned of children holding up severed heads, Australian children and other children at these camps in Syria attacking news crews with stones, which we've shown on Sky News in recent days, and saying that they wanted to slaughter them, won't for a second think that these children possibly have escaped radicalization. It is highly unlikely that they will come back in and be normal children again. And I don't believe children should be punished for the sins of their fathers or their mothers in this case. But sadly, we cannot guarantee the safety of Australians back home. And frankly, I don't care if these people end up stateless. They forfeited the right to be Australians when they left here to go and fight for a terrorist group.
I think, James, this is the view of a lot of Australians. I think it's the overwhelming majority of Australians. There's concern about what's likely to be a lifetime on welfare, education costs. The Victorian Premier and others have already said we can't see them fitting into normal schools, so they'll have specialised education offered to them. The New South Wales Premier has been pushed on the very real issue of housing for these people and concerns that they will get ahead of others in the queue. He spoke to this. Have a listen.
I have made inquiries about previous cohorts that have come through, and generally, they've stayed with family and friends, relatives, upon their return to Australia. I can guarantee that, if anyone were to pursue that whilst they were here, they'd have to go through the process that anyone else had to go through.
Do you buy this, James?
No, sorry, Peter, I don't buy this because, first of all, the whole question of family and friends, which family, which friends, which financial support may they have had from other people who may have shared their ideology when they went over there? Or these would be the same sort of people that they'd be coming back to stay with. I don't buy it that Chris Minns would say, no, to the back of the queue, we've got a 10-year wait for public housing and you're just going to have to wait and, couch surf or sleep on your car. That's simply not going to happen. And we know that's not going to happen. And I think Chris Minns, who is normally a sensible kind of fellow, he feels very, very caught in the middle of this here because he knows where the people of New South Wales stand on it, and it's very close to where you and Caro sit on this, not where Tony Burke sits. Let's go to inflation today, James. No change to headlines, still too high, 3.8. The band, obviously, for the RBA, they like to see is 2 to 3. 3.8 today, obviously, is way above that. But the core metric that they really will assess, that has risen. This is the underlying numbers there, 3.4%. Core inflations, I think that those sorts of numbers are likely to trouble the RBA, meaning we have more rate hikes coming, haven't we? Well, yeah, we do. We don't have any indication that they are at all serious about doing anything to do anything about the problem which we have right now, which is that we have no productivity in this economy, and we have a government that keeps spending our money, churning it back to us so that we can keep spending it, presumably, to keep it looking like the economy is rolling, and then driving inflation. And the indicator, Peta, of how unserious they are is that Jim Chalmers, he put out a tweet, he put out a statement, he said, and we're really serious about the cost of living, and that's why we're going to be announcing more handouts to help people with the cost of living. And it's like, no, you've got this completely backwards. Stop the spending. Let us keep the money, and then the economy will start to settle.
Yeah, the handouts were the problem with inflation to start off with last year. I'll leave it there. Thank you both.